What is up YouTube, and welcome back to the RiftGuides WildRift video. It has been some time since the last tier list, I know, I've taken a break from playing, but I'm back. However, after seeing all these changes to the game, there's not much that has changed in the sense of the meta. We only have new, more broken champions, and with the simplified tier list, not many changes have happened. But don't worry, we got you covered, so let's start with the most broken champions for the Baron lane. Here we have the Heimerdonger. This champion is an absolute demonic existence. This champion should be permabanned every single game. If you're wondering what to build in the Baron lane, don't worry. You have Boots of Mana with the Riftmaker and Liandry. That way, nobody can actually deal with your champion. However, we got still a few other good pickups for the Baron lane. Renekton is a lane stomper. He's super annoying to face, has super high damage and super high lethal windows, in which he can just one-shot you if you don't pay proper attention. Camille and Jax as well as Fiora are still super easy and super powerful pickups, and Sett is one of these champions that completely feasts on an enemy team once they make a single mistake. But if you want to look at the best champions in the Baron lane, don't worry, every single champion in the S tier can be picked. Some are harder to execute, for example Yasuo, which is a lot easier in mid lane, but still, he is going to be an absolute monster if you play him properly. Similar to Yone. Yone in the Baron lane, if you have proper experience executing him, you'll quickly see how unbelievably overtuned this pile of a monster of a champion truly is. For the A tier, as per usual, we have champions that are usually not that powerful or require too much time, and in the B tier we have champions that are usually not seen in the Baron lane because they're simply too weak. A big thing about Kayle here, yes, the recent changes to Kayle are cool, but it mostly benefits jungle Kayle and not the Baron lane Kayle. Reasoning is she still loses most of her matchups and needs a lot of time to scale, cannot really defend herself outside of cheesing level 1 with a Prestige attack or empowerment. For the tank top, we have still the Volleybro. All the other champions within the S tier have really not changed, but there are a few things you need to know. For example, if the entire enemy team picks up a full AD-centric draft, do yourself a favor, pick up the Malphite. Next to this, if the enemy team goes for a weird tank and you're not like a bruiser carry player, just pick Nasus, you get the free scale and you'll run them over for free. If you're more of a supportive player, don't you worry, just pick up Shen, pick up Ornn and you'll be more than happy with the pickup. With the Baron lane done, we move over to the jungle role, and here we have Rengar as the by far best pick of the entire patch. This champion should be permabanned every single game and simply does too much damage too fast, and I truly hope that this champion is going to get nerfed soon. But there are a few things within the S tier that we need to talk about. Okay, you wonder about champions such as Master Yi, Viego, maybe Diana, maybe something like Talon or Hakram, etc. All these champions are pretty good pickups, and that is what the S tier is for. They are generally very good champions, but if you want to talk about the truly like Apex champions, then we have to bring forth Rengar, Vi, Xin Zhao, Talon. These champions are borderline insane, and obviously Evelynn with the recent changes to the Soul Stealer, but yeah, all champions within the S tier are more than playable, and champions within the A tier just do everything that champions do in the S tier, just worse. But you can still pick them obviously. And here's the honorable mention about Kayle. So now, Kayle is a champion that completely thrives in an environment in which she isn't punished at all, which in WildRift happens too many times. And Kayle as well thrives in an environment where she's allowed to come back into the game. Because even if you put her behind, with the current systems that are taking place or existing within WildRift, it is more or less the norm that games get extended unnaturally, all the time. And this might give Kayle enough time to reach the breaking point where she becomes actually valuable. Because with the recent changes to Kayle, she can finally auto-attack during her own ultimate, which means she has a window in which she deals free damage as a ranged carry champion on an AoE fashion with an invulnerability. So now just imagine a Tryndamere champion, similar to this, just being ranged. Now Tryndamere obviously has a lot more stats than Kayle has, a lot more sustain and a lot better laning phases. He's very toxic in that regard. But Kayle still can reach the later stages of the game, but I still do not recommend playing her because it's a very selfish and very, well, I mean boring, I can't really bring this argument. It's just very selfish in the sense of you don't provide your team with anything, you just sit back and farm, similar to Nyla. These two champions are a pain to see and honestly speaking should not exist in the ecosphere of WildRift, from my opinion. Let me know what you think, because obviously you guaranteed think differently about many things. but I truly dislike these type of champions because they feel so untrue, and it just doesn't feel nice to play with them. Now for the tank tier, we have the Volley Bro still at the very top, and then you have all the other champions in the S tier down to the A tier. Obviously you can make the argument to put Nautilus into the carry tier, but yeah, this will become too bloated if I just put everyone everywhere. So here we go, I just designate Nautilus as a tank champion, even though most of the time you play him as an AP champion in the jungle. But yeah, again, every single time you pick a champion from the S tier, you're generally fine. Other than this, I'd tell you to stay away from champions in the A tier or below. Now for the mid lane, and who could have guessed it, we have the Donga on the highest placement right here. Who could have guessed that one? This champion is just batshit broken and should be nerfed ASAP. Other champions that are very good are, for example, Syndra. Syndra is by far probably the second best champion right after the Donga, and then we have other champions like the Sandra in duo queue environment, Lux if you just don't want to play at all, Annie if you're a toxic maniac, Aurelion Soul in duo and trio queue, and Twisted Fate if you want to play macro. As for Zoe, Zoe is a bit special. Zoe really shines the more mechanically gifted you are, but if you're not really good at the champion, you will find her like probably less valuable than B tier champions. Okay, for the A tier, the best champion out of right here that we have is probably the surprise champion Galio. Galio can one-shot if you don't pay attention, which is very cool into mages, so he's a very good pick into mages. But you need to know and understand what you do, and then properly execute him. If you don't understand what you're doing, he's just going to be a minion with a super high cooldowns. As for Morgana, Morgana is probably the best pickup if you don't know what you're doing in your autofill mid lane, but if you know what you're doing, this champion becomes even better. The reason is the Morgana champion, once you have acquired boots, becomes an absolute push monster. With this push you can then rotate around the map and actually create plays to help your team. Other champions in the B tier, for example, other champions I could be putting higher, are Seraphine and Karma. These two champions are a lot more versatile than maybe other champions in the A tier, but still for the list's simplicity's sake I put them in the B tier, because you usually don't see them. But Seraphine is definitely a lot better than the other alternatives within the B tier. Okay, for assassins, we have Kassadin here. Kassadin is still the best pick here if you want to pick an assassin. And other than this, Diana and Ahri got a lot better with the Awakened Soul Stealer, or at least Ahri got a lot better. The reason is the cooldown refund and the ability Ace make them so much more powerful. Other champions in the A tier are just way less consistent, but you can most definitely give them a shot. Fizz got collaterally buffed with the Awakened Soul Stealer change, so you can definitely give him a look as well. He might be close to breaking into the S tier, but he's a lot of effort compared to the other champions, and doesn't really perform up to their level from my point of view. Okay, next up is the other tier. There could be so many other champions in here, but we'll keep it simple. Yasuo, still an absolute abomination. This champion is cringe beyond redemption, and you know how it is. But other champions that are very good that are not, for example, listed here. If the enemy picks Yasuo, you can pick Jax mid lane, you can pick Nyla mid lane, you can pick Varus mid lane. All of these are viable options. If Yasuo is banned, well, Draven, Varus, Jace, Lucian, Tristana probably the most annoying one of all of them. And Maokai, this is just an honorable mention from my point of view. Maokai into a mage champion, similar to, like, for example, Maokai plus a pre-mage jungle is really insane. Maokai standalone mid lane, most definitely not a thing, but this is more like a pre-made thing. All the other champions below, well, as you already know, stay rather away from them, with the exception of maybe Kai'Sa, because Kai'Sa is still Kai'Sa, and if you're really an enjoyer, like if you enjoy Akshan, you can definitely play him, but only into very squishy enemy drafts, otherwise you will only suffer. Next up, we have the bot lane tier list, or the dragon lane tier list. Varus is still the pinnacle of AD carries, with the exception of maybe Kai'Sa, but Kai'Sa is only very powerful if the enemy allows her to become powerful. That is the thing with Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa's laning phase is absolutely horrendously terrible, and often gets completely dumpstered by all the other options, so yeah, here we are. But other options, for example, like Ezreal, even though he got nerfed, are pretty strong. Xayah with a lot of better scaling, Tristana with better scaling now, but none of these champions really compete with the power of, for example, Draven or Lucian in bot lane, and Samira in a duo queue environment. These champions, if they know what they're doing, as well as playing with good teammates or pre-mates in the dragon lane, will one-shot you on cooldown. There's nothing you can do about this one. Now if we go a little bit further down, we have champions that are more dependent on proper team compositions, as well as have gotten weaker over the patches. For example, Calista was 880 level 1. On a champion that is a snowball champion, that is kind of a death sentence for the early game, and therefore I don't really think it was a good choice to do so. Other champions like Caitlyn really wants to play with Millie or Lulu to just really be powerful, and Nyla is more of a counter pick, and champions within the B tier just don't even touch them, don't even think about them, it's not worth it. There's one exception you can make, Miss Fortune. Whereas I believe Miss Fortune doesn't carry games in her current form, she's a very good carry if you're like unable to play AD carry. Because she'll still have impact. Just one well-placed ultimate when you're not too far behind is potentially going to make the difference, but outside of that you barely offer anything. They removed most of her burst damage and just all of her reasons to exist, and wanted to try to put her or take her or turn her into a DPS champion, which for this champion simply isn't true because of her, well, base AD as well as her kit. She's more like a, well, one burst and go champion. Okay, next up we have the mages. There we have Mr. Dongadinga as well as the top pick, and I wonder why, because this champion is just broken. You see the theme? One champion being busted in most roles. I wonder if he gets nerfed. Let's see soon. Now we have other options here, like Seraphine, Lux, Syndra, Karma, Zoe and Ziggs. Like, for example, Ziggs is probably the safest choice and easiest choice. After this it's Lux and then Seraphine. Syndra and the good old Zoe take a lot more skill to pilot, and champions within the A tier are usually just super combination centric, or need to be piloted in a certain way in certain drafts. Generally speaking, stay away from them, but focus rather on the champions in the S tier. Okay, into the support role we go. Here we have Ornn as the best pick so far. This champion is just too insane from my opinion. It is just an insane pickup, what it provides you with, like the crafting, the overall teamfight presence, the level 2 all-in. Like, his weakest point is level 1, and after this it becomes just better and better. So here we are. But if you want to hunt SVPs or S ratings to just not lose any LP, well, Jarvan support is the way to go. And all the other champions are just really dependent on how you want to play on an engaged champion. They're all offered a unique ways of being played. However, the most consistent ones would be, for example, Nautilus and Leona from my perspective. And the other champions like Rakan, Fresh, maybe even Alistar and Maokai are more draft dependent. And Zed is really cool if the enemy team has a lot of chonkers, and then it's like goodbye time. I also put Blitz into a higher tier, simply because people really don't understand what is happening around them, and Blitz just really preys on that one. I still honestly believe that this champion isn't that good. He's just good at catching people off guard if they are not paying attention. And even then, he only has one move, and if this move is on cooldown, it really becomes troublesome for him to achieve anything. Okay, for the Protect tier, we have Millie as the best pick. This champion is beyond broken, needs to be banned every single game. Offers too much for the AD carry, range, healing, shielding, CC removal on top of having Veil, so it's really difficult for the AD carry to be killed, as well as even caught off guard. So therefore, this champion is better off banned. Other than this, we have barely had any changes. Yuumi is still in the S tier, but not necessarily for the AD carry, but more for the jungle. And that is one of the things that is quite weird when it comes to this game. Sona again, I just will never grow warm with this champion. I really don't like her. You can technically put her similar to Janna, maybe, but Janna provides you with a lot of AD as the game goes on, so I think she's better off in A tier. In the B tier, we have Morgana, Nasus, and Shen. Morgana only is a real good pickup into certain compositions. Like, she's really good into Nautilus because she denies the entire kit of Nautilus. But other than this, she's only really good into certain engaged champions, but lacks any type of ability. So if there's like aerial, like lockdown in an area, it becomes really troublesome for her because she can't really fight back. She only exists for the sake of black shit. She doesn't have any damage. No other real cooldowns until later into the game, outside of rooting. Now for the last part, we have the carry supports, and who could have guessed that one? The Dongadinga is here. Champion is just busted, is what it is, and other than this, nothing much has changed for that one. We still have all these champions like Pyke, Ashe, Lux, Karma, Senna, and Cassandra in the S tier, and champions like Zyra and Brand in the A tier because they really require you to be playing into very tanky comps for these champions to truly thrive and deal a lot of damage. Other than this, they will not be dealing too much and most of the time just be cosmetic or really annoying. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and see you soon for more RiftGuides content. Bye bye!